Hi there, welcome back to another Crypto Dave video. It's Friday, which means another crypto interest rates and news update. Today is the 11th of March 2022. And apologies again for the lack of video last week. I was a bit under the weather. Been a bit under the weather for the last couple of weeks, but I was just really didn't feel up to doing a video. So back at my desk now. I did the Monday video and got this video, and then hopefully next week get a few of the ones that I've been promising out of the door as well, particularly on the DeFi side of things. But let's, as always, start by taking a look at any interest rate changes and new coins. And I have made quite a few changes actually here, particularly to Celsius. There's been a number of small changes, as well as some coins which I'd missed out, which I've added in. So I've done a bit of a deep dive today and updated all of those. We've got some crypto.com news. We'll talk about the tier changes in there in a minute, but they don't come into effect for another few weeks. And I've just taken a quick glance and made sure that everything was up to date. I may have missed some things, so do let me know in the comments below if you see anything that is amiss. And moving on to the token prices, so as you can see here, Bitcoin down 7%, just over 7% on the week, currently trading just under 39,500. We've had a a frustrating week. We've been up into the the mid or low to mid 40s, so up to 42 and a half, then a pull back down to the 38 range, and another pump up to the 42 range, 43 range, and another drop down to the 38, 39 range. And we seem to be going through these Bart Simpson type patterns at the moment within a channel of probably roughly between 38 and 42 thousand, sometimes dipping a fraction above and below that, but coming back to those that sideways channel. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the slightly longer term. It is quite a wide channel. It's not like we're stuck at a tiny narrowing level that we're going to break out from potentially imminently, but we seem to have these a nice break up of a 4,000, then it moves sideways, then we'll have a drop back of 4,000, stuff like that. So just in the last week or so, we've been up 15%, down 15%, up 10%, down 10%. It's a little bit frustrating, but obviously if you were trading, some nice opportunities to swing trade within these ranges for as long as it lasts. But as I said, Bitcoin down 7.2% over the last week, Kronos down 9.2%, and Yield App down 10.1%, so a little bit worse than Bitcoin. Celsius and Nexo doing pretty well. So Celsius up compared to Bitcoin about 7.5%, and Nexo up about 10.5% compared to Bitcoin, and both in positive territory over the last 7 days by themselves. But let's jump over and have a look at some of the stories, some of the things that have been going on over the last couple of weeks. And I think a lot of the news, particularly in the Telegram groups and Reddit sub forums, has been about the crypto.com upcoming tier changes. So excuse me. So essentially from April the 4th, they are going to be introducing a $30,000 tier 1 quota. So anything over and above tier 1 will be earning 50% of what you would earn before. So a tier 1, as you can see here, full rewards rate up to an equivalent of 30,000 US dollars, and then over and above that 0.5% of the rewards rate. So you can have a look here at some examples. If you jump into this article here, which does a good job of going through their entire program, you have to scroll pretty close to the bottom to get the specifics of this, but I'll put the description links to all these articles in the description below, so you can have a look. But there are examples here. I think this is probably going to provoke a little bit of an exodus, and this it should be noted that this only applies for fixed term allocations. So if you are in the flexible allocations, if we jump back to crypto.com, the flexible ones, it won't affect you. But anytime you lock up for a 1 month or 3 month fixed term lockup, these new rates will come into effect, and it will only come into effect at April the 4th. So if you do have stuff in crypto.com that you are looking to get the current rates, and make sure you lock up before this date, to make sure you take advantage of the current rates. But I think in the long term, this will mean that we'll see a pretty large exodus from crypto.com. Now, because of their lockup periods, the best rates being a 3 month lockup, it could be another 3 months or so till we see the complete movement out of crypto.com. So it's not like the announcement is made and everything will go immediately. There'll be a chunk that goes immediately, and then I imagine we'll get a further movement from crypto.com into the other platforms over the next 2 to 3 months. But yeah, a little bit disappointing. I know there's been quite a lot of talk and chatter about this particularly on the crypto.com subreddit. People are not particularly kind of happy. They don't change their rates that frequently, crypto.com, and this is a really big change. So interesting to see how this plays out in terms of their assets under management and user base going forward. And another pretty disappointing thing from crypto.com. So I got an email about this a few days ago, essentially saying that if you are using one of their crypto-backed loans, they will be closing in only a few days. Actually, 15th of March, I believe, is the date which you will have to pay it back. Now, this is not a great thing at all, and particularly if you've taken a loan out, for what you thought was a longer kind of period of time, having to pay it back quickly. So they haven't given people a lot of notice. I'm in the UK. You can see here there is a massive list now which encompasses most of Western Europe and the US, Canada, etc., etc. So it's a huge number of countries are now banned from using their lending kind of platform. I think this ties into all the regulation in the kind of US and stuff like that. So interesting to see what happens going forward with this. But yeah, a huge number of countries are now banned from using their lending. I believe if you don't pay back by the 15th, they will start to close out your loans using proceeds of your spot wallet. So make sure you are abreast of that, and making sure you either address it or reach out to them to find out exactly how they will do that, because I don't know which accounts they will be taking stuff out of in order to kind of close those out. But yeah, really disappointing, the lack of notice for this, but no doubt this is due to this sort of like the stricter scrutiny around crypto kind of products throughout the industry. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as well. But do make sure if you are using a crypto.com, you have a loan with them, that you are either in a jurisdiction where you can still maintain that, or that you are being proactive about kind of closing that position out. And then moving over to some slightly more positive news, firstly with Yield App. Now, those of you who have been following the channel for a while will know that Yield App opened their Bitcoin funds, and they used to open it every kind of like a few months, and it was a limited amount of kind of Bitcoin as they kind of like ramped up their Bitcoin returns. But this is now moving over to a monthly cycle basically, and there are unlimited volume essentially, so you can deposit as much as you want. It'll be interesting to see how long that actually kind of stays with an unlimited kind of like deposit. But as of now, you can deposit as much Bitcoin as you want, and you can withdraw as much Bitcoin as you want from your account whenever you want. Now, it should be noted that it isn't an immediate withdrawal like many of the other platforms. They are doing a monthly cycle. So if you chose to withdraw some of your Bitcoin today, which is the 11th of March, you will continue to accrue interest up until the 1st of April, when the amount would be then withdrawn and put into your wallet. So interesting that they're now allowing basically kind of unlimited kind of deposits. There is a minimum amount, I believe it was 0.03 Bitcoin, something like that, but all the full information is on this page, and as I mentioned before, all these links will be in the description below. So really nice that they have opened it up for kind of everybody. You can deposit whatever, and I think they'll probably get a reasonable amount of influx, particularly with some of the tightening tiers with some of these other platforms that we kind of talk about. So nice that this is now opening up for kind of everybody and for an unlimited number of Bitcoin. But do make sure that you are aware of the fact that if you do need to withdraw it, it's done on a monthly basis. You have to wait till the 1st of the next month to get your Bitcoin out, should you wish to do that. Another nice thing on Yield App is that they have now enabled the swap function within Bitcoin as well, so you can now swap in and out of Bitcoin within the app like you could between sort of like Ethereum and various other bits and bobs before. So now this has been completely integrated into the kind of app. You can now swap in and out of Bitcoin within the app without having to kind of like move it out and swap it on an exchange. So that's nice to see as well. Hodlnaut, now we talked about their referral program before, and they've now announced the plans, or the sort of like the full kind of like information about their new referral program. So essentially, if you refer one of your friends, you both get 30 USDC each. So the person who referred and the person who's been referred, you both get 30 USDC. If the person basically kind of like qualifies via various kind of like bits and pieces here, so you have to deposit essentially $1,000 or more in any of the supported assets. You can do a a sort of like test transaction, but then the $1,000 or more has to be in a single transaction. It's got to be within a week of a test deposit if you've done a test deposit, and then you need to hold that balance for 31 consecutive days. You also need to complete KYC. So there's full information kind of here. There's no limit on the amount of people you can refer or anything like that, but that's quite a nice little kind of bonus. So $30 of USDC for both the person being referred and the referring person. I do have a link if anybody's interested in checking out Hodlnaut. I do have a link, shameless plug, in the description below. And then finally on to Ledn. Now, I haven't talked about Ledn a huge amount kind of recently, but their latest proof of reserves is now available in the back end. So they have a whole page about the proof of reserves. This is the third one they've actually carried out. So it's a proof of reserves attestation. I believe they're using the same company that Nexo are using. Nexo kind of came after this kind of Ledn proof of reserves, but they do it every 6 months. The latest one is now available, and if you log into your Ledn account, you can jump through, follow the kind of links, and actually have a look at your actual Bitcoin and USDC within their kind of platform, and check that it is basically there, check that it is as you expect it to be. So nice that they've released the latest ones. It's kind of March, so this runs us up till the end of last year, so it's taken a little while to kind of do this, but nice that the latest one is now available. And then finally, last story here is from Celsius. And they have essentially improved their swap function. Now, at the end of this video, I'll do a link to a couple of months ago, I did a video on comparing the swap function on a lot of these different kind of platforms, and Celsius actually came out top in terms of the rates offered. You got more US dollars for the small amount of Bitcoin we did when we compared all the platforms, but they have actually made now some improvements. So they were kind of like, sort of like, I think kind of industry leading anyway, but there's some notable improvements. I think the biggest one being you can now swap while in HODL mode. So if you had HODL mode enabled on your account, you couldn't actually swap those assets before. You can now do that. There are more pairs to swap, so they now support over 25 pairs. An improved experience. I haven't actually gone through the latest swap experience. I did mention on the video that I did about that that it wasn't necessarily the most intuitive, and I know that a few people in Celsius did actually watch that video. It was mentioned in one of the Celsius AMAs in fact. And then the last thing is that there are now increased daily limits, so you can swap up to $250,000 worth of crypto. So that's really nice to see them improving this. As I said, it was one of the better products on the market. Certainly had the slightly had the best rates. I think in second place was Hodlnaut, but I think Celsius and Hodlnaut were way above everyone else. But yeah, nice to see them in making some further improvements to the platform as well. Be interested to have a look at the usability within this experience thing. But that's it for this week. Thanks very much for watching as always. It's been a bit of a chaotic time for me over the last few weeks. You know, I've been away and then a bit ill, so apologies for the sort of like the lack of kind of updates and the slightly piecemeal delivery. But that's it for this week. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Hopefully I will see you on the next video. But until then, have a great day. Bye bye.